Ladies and gentlemen, roughly 10 minutes ago, the Associated Press called the race for Biden. CNN followed suit and has now also called the race for Biden. It looks like multiple news organizations at this point are all giving the victory to Biden. What appears to have put him over is Pennsylvania. He has now won Pennsylvania. CNN, the New York Times, has actually not yet given him Nevada. And Nevada for them is still too close to call. But even without Nevada, they have granted him Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania will put him over the top. He is now at 284 by the Associated Press count. By the CNN's count, he's only at 273. Again, absent Nevada, he no longer needs Nevada to win. None of the remaining contested states are sufficient for Trump at this point. Even if he gets all of them, he will lose his bid for re-election. At present, we still believe that Arizona is likely to go to Biden. We also do believe that, as the Associated Press has claimed, you can call Nevada for Biden. There are two races still. If you excluding, sorry, there's a lot going on. Excluding Arizona and Nevada, and I think I reversed those. I apologize. So it's Arizona that right now. Yes, I did reverse those. I think Arizona has not yet been called by CNN or the New York Times. It has been called by Fox News, by the Associated Press for Biden. Nevada has not been called by anybody, but at this point, neither of the two is in fact necessary. Biden is projected to win Pennsylvania, and that will put him over the top. He is the votes are still outstanding in North Carolina, which is projected to go to Trump, but there's still 2% of the vote to be cast, and it is sufficient that it could flip. But right now, North Carolina is projected to go to Trump, and Biden is ahead by 7,000 votes in Georgia. 99% of the vote is in. The remainder of the votes are they are absentee ballots, which are expected to still break for Biden, but nonetheless, right now it is 49.3 to 49.4 in Georgia. So Georgia could go either way, but is still expected to go to Trump. So it looks like, again, we agree with the Nevada call, and that would put Biden at 284, well over what he needs. We also believe he's going to get. I'm sorry. I believe with we believe we concur with the Arizona call. We also do believe he's going to get Nevada, and Georgia's a toss-up, but I think he's probably going to get that as well. Nonetheless, he doesn't need any more. He is, by the most conservative estimates that we have, he is at 273. So I think it's over. Fox News has now also declared. Fox News projects Biden will defeat Trump and become the 46th president. They have actually also. Fox News is also now calling Nevada. Fox News is calling Nevada and Pennsylvania, both for Trump. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is fair to say that it's over. He's by even by Fox News's count. That's the only thing that would give me pause. If Fox News says he's won, I'd really have to sit there and kind of second guess myself, I suppose. 12 years ago, the United States had a historic election and elected the first black man to the presidency of the United States. It was a day I honestly never thought I would live to see, and I helped with the campaign. I worked on that campaign, and I wouldn't have done so if I didn't think he could win. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I didn't realize it. And he was not a perfect president. He was closer to the center than most Democrats would have liked, but nonetheless, he was successful in unifying a country, half of which, or less than half, I suppose, but a number of which absolutely hated him. Apologize. It appears we got disconnected. We are reconnected. Um, his presidency was the hallmark of stability and I think more progress in this country than he got credit for. But nonetheless, our standing in the world went up and our repute in the world went up, and we, for a time, took back the mantle of trying to engage in the world and trying to lead not by bullying others, but by working with others as the only remaining superpower. He made some terrible mistakes. There's the criticism that he created ISIS. I think that's a bit of a miscasting of it, but it's not necessarily off. His red line in the sand was a terrible idea, and when Assad realized he could cross it because Obama really wouldn't do anything, yeah, that emboldened terrorists across the. He made mistakes, but I think it was a presidency that most of us should be proud of. It was followed up by a businessman who, I'm sorry, but by just about any metric, was failed at business. How much nobody knows, because he hides his taxes. He's the first president ever to do so, and he hides them. He's not. This isn't on principle that he's withholding his taxes. He's hiding them. Trump University was a scam. I don't think it takes much effort going into both the books on that and even the manual for just running Trump. It was a scam. And I think he's had a lot of scams, had a lot of bankruptcies, and I think just how bad it is going to come to light. And this is going to sound a bit like either an "I told you so" or Schadenfreude at his loss, and maybe it is a bit that. But I don't think this has been America's greatest 4 years, as much as many would like to believe otherwise. I am sorry that the candidate that they had hoped for has lost. But I think that I'm cautiously optimistic. And I would caution everybody, Biden's not going to be a panacea of liberal values. He's a pragmatist. He knows how to get things done, which is probably what we need now. That means compromise, and that means not just ramming forth all of the values that we might want him to. And that's okay. I think we've had enough of that for a little while in this country. I think we need to heal, and I'm hoping Biden is going to be a very good step in that direction. At any rate, just to recap, at this point, that I can tell, nearly every news organization has called the race, including Fox News, CNN, NBC, ABC. They've called it at slightly different numbers. CNN has not yet given Biden Nevada. Well, no, sorry, they haven't given him Arizona. According to them, Arizona is still too close to call. AP has him giving Arizona, but it no longer matters. He's gotten Pennsylvania. That was all he needed. So whether you think he's at 273 or 284, which is what our count here is, we use the AP count, he's over the top. Fox News has also now given him Nevada. So Fox News is actually giving him more states than most of the other organizations at this point. We do know that Georgia is obviously going to go into a recount. They've already said they're going to go into a recount. They're going to, sorry, we'll try to clear that up for you. But at this point, especially if he does in fact win Nevada if Arizona is cemented by the other news organizations, which I fully expect it to be. And he is now up by more than 4 million votes in the popular vote. This is, I think, insurmountable by any. There's got to be recounts. There should be recounts, but Pennsylvania has, I think, pretty much clinched it. Obviously, we're going to look to see what Trump does now. I'm concerned. I think the tone out of the Trump camp is concerning, and the rhetoric and the people who have said that they would like to defend him. It's not as bad as I had expected, which is good. And I think that this time, this 4-day cooling off period, while people look at the numbers, I don't think he's going to go quietly. So it's going to be up to all of us to try to understand that there are people who are profoundly disappointed in this and who feel they've lost their America. I don't think that's true. I think their America even is fine and well. I think my America is hopefully on the heel, on the mend. I think there's enough overlap for all of us, but nonetheless, it's a loss for people. I don't think it's a loss for Trump. I don't think he wanted the job. I just think he hated the idea of losing. There are winners and there are losers. Losers are the dead at Arlington National Cemetery. Those are losers to Trump. Winners are people in the White House, whether they want the job or not. That's a winner. All right. I think that's a recipe for misery, quite frankly, but is what it is. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to run over a few questions. I think before we go, that's really all we had. Biden has now been projected the winner by, to the best of my knowledge, every major news organization. He has also been projected to win Nevada by Fox News. So I think it looks like at this point, if he gets Nevada, let's see, Nevada is another 6, so that puts him up to 290. I think at this point it's reasonably comfortable and reasonably decisive. It's a bit more decisive than people had anticipated it being too, which I think is good. There was a question about the Senate seats. The Senate seats are tied at 48-48. At this point, if the Democrats can win 2, they will effectively have control of the Senate. I think 3 would be ideal, but they can do it with 2 because Harris will be the tiebreaker as the vice president. So, yeah, Biden may. Let's see what we've got here. Biden may have won, but America has lost its character. Well, we lost that, I think, quite some time ago. And character, integrity, trust. These things are important because they take so long to build. They're destroyed very quickly and very easily. They're fragile things, but that's what makes them so valuable. We've lost a lot of all of those. And I think we can get them back, but I think it's going to take time. And we can't do it without the help of the conservatives in this country. We can't. So the question is, do they want to help or not? And I don't just mean over the next 4 or 8 years. Do they want to help or not? What's their agenda for this country? If it's isolationism, fine, but we've just ceded the world to China then. And if they don't recognize that, there's a disconnect that we'll never cross. Yeah, what comes next? I don't know. We're going to keep an eye out. There are poll watchers who are watching with their AR-14s. Yes, I know there's no such thing as an AR-14. It's an inside joke. They're watching with their AR-14s, and we will. We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic there too that there won't be too much trouble. Of course, to even say so appears to me to be tempting fate. So, so let's see. So let's see. Yeah. Well, yeah. I hear you, and I think we've Germany gets obviously a lot of shit, and it's funny because Germany has had a tremendous number of successes too, and Angela Merkel is almost to the level, in my view, of world statesmen. There are a couple of leaders who have been statesmen or stewards almost of the planet. I think Roosevelt may have been kind of close to that. I don't think he was there. I think, oh God, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. During World War II, the British leader Churchill, that was a steward of the world, and Germany's had a few people who have, but there's a taint that in 50 years obviously isn't going to cover, and in some cases never can be. But America has similar taints. We're very good at rewriting our own history. So, yeah, I thank you for that comment. I think that's it's unfortunate. Don't know what Mitch McConnell is going to do. Don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would like to see there be a reckoning for Mitch McConnell. I will say this. I've grown more cynical and jaded, I think, as I get older, and one of them is to expect the fact that sometimes the Disney villain gets away with it, and he's a Disney villain. I mean, he is that evil. He's not just a politician who is ambitious or what. I mean, he's a villain. He's a genuine villain, and he will probably get away with it. Now, what history will think of him later, who knows? But he's not an American. Well, I shouldn't say. Of course, he's an American. He's not a patriot in any sense either. That I can tell, he'll sell out any part of this country for whatever it is that he values, and I don't know what it is. I'd say it's power, but even power isn't an end. It's a means to an end. You get power so you can do something else. I don't know what he wanted to do. I don't know what he values. I don't know what he cares about, except apparently power for its own. That I'm lost. Yeah, that goes monetization. Okay, yeah, probably true. That thought crossed my mind. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, to sort of run down, I think, and then we're going to go. There's going to be streams on this for a very long time, but we wanted to get this to you. For the most part, every news organization, reputable news organization in the United States, and Fox News has called Pennsylvania for Joe Biden, despite the fact that Nevada was still out, and that by some calculations, Arizona was still not called. That's enough. That puts them over the top. CNN has not yet called Arizona for Biden. Neither has the New York Times. They've got a piece sort of discussing why, but the long story short, they normally actually go by Associated Press, and they have said that they, in general, follow with the Associated Press, but they do double check everything with the Associated Press, everything the Associated Press does, and in this case, they do not concur. The New York Times has said they do believe it is leaning towards Biden. It is their view that probably Biden will get it, but they're not ready to call it. Nonetheless, the Associated Press has called, and for quite some time, Arizona. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you don't give him Arizona, if you don't give him Nevada. Pennsylvania alone puts him at 273, so he is over. If you give him if you give him Arizona, which Fox News has given him, and the Associated Press has given him, that puts him at 284. Those are the numbers we're using. We, for the most part, stick with the Associated Press. And Fox News has now said that they believe he's also going to win Nevada. So Fox News has given him more. Fox News has given Biden more. I'm almost thinking Fox News wants Biden to win, because They called Michigan before anyone else did, and they called it for Trump too. Before the Associated Press. It's just like they're giving Michigan to Biden, and nobody. Okay, and that's how they handed. That's part of how they handed 2000 to Bush. So was these early calls that actually swayed the consensus enough that it had an impact. At any rate. Yes, well, CNN. I know CNN has called the race for Biden. The race has been called by Fox, CNN, ABC. The race has been called. Again, these are just projections, so technically it could. But multiple independent news organizations have called it for Biden. The lowest number is he is now at 273. I think he's probably actually at 284. And Fox News has him at now even over 284 because they have also just recently given him Nevada as well. So if he takes Nevada, he is at 290, which is a pretty solid lead. It's not the mandate he was looking for, but honestly, it is a bigger lead than anyone had been looking at. And we were all here for election night. That was a tough night. We weren't sure he'd pull it out. It looked like he wasn't going to. But there's going to be recounts. But I think at this point, he's still on track to. I'm hoping, I'm guessing that the Associated Press is going to call Nevada reasonably soon. It's certainly been light blue since the election. It looks like, let's see, he's ahead by 0.1% in Georgia. And in North Carolina, he is behind some. So it doesn't matter. He could lose all of them at this point. Doesn't matter. He has won. So my hope is I'm gonna take a break. I'm exhausted. Thank you to everybody on In Time, all our mods, all the people who've been dropping news, all the people who've been staying with this. It's been a long ride. My hope is that things go smoothly going forward. I'm not going to hold my breath, but that is my hope. In the meantime, I hope everybody takes some time to kind of reflect. I do think it's important to remember that there are people who believe that the America that they want is now over. It's not true. The America that they want is still there. Wearing a mask doesn't impede your freedoms. I'm sorry. It's not mask or freedom. But to the people who have been polarized in that way, this is a terrible loss. And while I disagree that it is the loss they think it is, for them as well as certainly for myself, I don't think it hurts to recognize that to them it is. And so I temper my joy with the understanding that there's half of this country that is not so happy. At any rate, all right, I'll check that out later. At any rate, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for coming to In Time for our discussion and coverage of this. Again, thank you to our mods. We have a Discord. I don't know if I'll be in the Discord. I'm going to try to stop by and hit the Discord after this broadcast. I'll probably be by for a few minutes, but it's been a long couple of days for everyone. But certainly there's always stuff going on there. So I hope you'll check it out. And tomorrow we will be doing the Matter of Perspective, the Star Trek episode in which there is a single event viewed by three people, all of whom reach very different conclusions about the nature of that event. We will be streaming that to the Discord and then discussing it in a Hangout. That starts, the streaming is at 2, the show is at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So in the meantime, thank you all for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.